Milo, is that you?
There, I think I got it. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing. Bruce.
5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
Kelly, are you out there?
I'm here.
Okay. Scooter.
Here I am.
Wow, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So you know what you
Well,
could,
thank you. Thank you very much.
You know what you could do? Take a piece of your, do you have styrene kicking around? Piece of styrene?
Yeah.
Take a piece of that and cut it to for the exact distance that the microphone is from your mouth.
He just moved to get the piece of
Oh, did he go? Did he go to get the piece of styrene?
That's probably what he did.
Oh my God! I should.
You really and truly. I'm just going to use a pencil. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Just don't get it. Don't stick it in your eye.
No. Let me finish. Let me finish. Do you have a piece of styrene, like scrap styrene?
Oh, I always do. Yes.
Like sheet styrene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, cut a fairly robust piece, and put some put an I-beam or like put another piece. Like glue, make it so it's a fairly robust thing. Exactly the distance from the microphone to your face or your mouth. Can you do that for me?
I can.
Okay. And then glue it to your lips and then glue it to just the side of your mouth, just beside your mouth, and then glue it to the microphone.
Okay. I'll do that. Hold on.
Yeah. Hey, does any one of the three of you characters, our guest is still in the green room because I didn't tell him to stay there, but now I think he may be smarter than all four of us combined.
And this shocks you how?
Yeah, exactly. Do any of you remember about 4 years ago? I believe it was in the year 2017. I had it there the other day.
That's like 7 years ago.
Wow.
I was looking at it the other day. I don't remember specifically when it was, but it was a long time ago. And we interviewed these two guys, John Caffarelli and Cam Nealy. And not that Cam Nealy.
I used to love him when he played.
That Cam Nealy. We're not. He's heard that joke 1,000 times, so we're not doing that joke.
1,001 now.
Yeah. So, do you guys remember? We interviewed them together, and there were two guys that were in school, and they had discovered each other via Facebook through their own individual model railroads. One guy lived near Chicago. One of them lived in the Indianapolis area. And they became fast friends in model railroading through their Facebook pages and through model railroading. Do you any of you remember this?
Yes.
Kelly?
No, I don't remember it. I forget it. It's so much stuff to remember, and I can't remember everything.
Well, then why would you just before the show started, were you asking me about how last night went?
Because I learned my lesson.
It only took you 8 years.
I know.
And you'll forget it by next week.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's other things to think about next week.
Well, you don't even know when next week is.
It's always next week.
There you go.
It was last week, though.
Yeah, it could be last week.
Scooter?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any memory of that whatsoever?
Well, it was before my time, but I do think I remember the podcast.
Right. Like you
I heard the podcast.
You heard the podcast. That's what I'm asking. Okay.
That is exactly what I did.
Well, tonight we have Cam Nealy back on because one night I was doing something on YouTube and it said, hey, you might like this page. And I went to it and there was this fantastic YouTube channel about Cam's Model Railroad, which is now called the, how do you pronounce it, Marius? How do you say it? M-A-R. Have any of you looked at this YouTube channel that I sent you the link for earlier?
I'm looking at a Facebook page.
Okay. Yeah. You haven't looked at his YouTube channel?
Yeah, I've looked at it.
Okay, so how do you pronounce it? Somebody help me out here.
God, I don't know how to. That's the worst thing. I'm dyslexic.
Bruce. This is one of these podcasts already. We're 5 minutes in, and I'm thinking.
I'm trying to find it. Hold on.
Yeah. So you got the link earlier?
I did, but I didn't realize that I was supposed to look at it.
Well, why would I send you the link if you didn't think you were supposed to look at it?
Well, I knew I was supposed to look at it, but I've been real busy, and I was like, well, maybe
busy doing what? Busy doing what?
Well, I had a meeting to go to tonight. Does that count?
Sure, but that's all day. You did that. See, there's no point.
Well, today I was making arrangements for something else, and it took all day. All day. From Bruce, the time I got up to the time I had to go to a meeting. How's that?
Okay. Bruce, do you know how to pronounce this?
I think
and then the internet cuts out.
This is a good night.
Oh, my God.
Oh.
How do you pronounce it, Lionel?
I can't. I know I heard somebody pronounce it, but I can't. It's no wonder that these other podcasts think that they're way better than us.
No, they're different.
No, yeah,
no, they think they're way better than us. There's no doubt that these guys think they're way better than us. How can they not be better than us?
Yeah.
Can you guys kind of drink some Red Bull or some Mountain Dew or something?
Get your some Dr. Pepper here.
Yeah, get your personalities fired up because we're on the air. We've been on the air for 6.5 minutes, and it's like talking to brick walls.
Well, you're asking all those hard questions.
So is Bruce gone now? Did he just disappear?
He just disappeared.
His picture's still up.
No, I'm here.
Okay, well, we couldn't hear you. How do you pronounce it? You cut out there when you just.
I think it's Marias.
Marias, yeah. That's it. Thank you. 7 minutes it took me to find that out.
Oh, Marias Summit.
Marias Pass.
Oh, it's Pass. I thought.
And on YouTube, if you do Railfan 220, you'll find it.
Yeah, on YouTube it's Railfan 220, and it's a page full of fantastic YouTube videos of Cam and his layout.
He does. Yeah. He's got 5 of them that are operations live, which is probably about four at least 4 hours, maybe more.
He has
5 hours.
It has over 17,000 subscribers and 380 videos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
It's just fantastic. How many videos do you have on your YouTube channel, Scott?
1. Well, I mean, I've just got started doing that. I'm learning. How's that?
Yeah, you started like a month ago.
Right. I've been busy.
If you had driven to Springfield, you would have had much more time to get.
I know, because I'd be a lot. Believe it or not, I'm not really tired, so I'm glad I flew.
Okay. All right. So, Cam, can you come into the studio because I'm losing my patience here with these guys.
Yeah, yes, Cam, sir, please help us out.
Yes, yeah. And make sure you speak up, Cam.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, but you sound a bit faint. Like you sound like maybe move the microphone a little closer.
Really? Okay, hold on. Let me go back to.
Yeah, go back.
I changed some settings. Is that better?
Why did you change settings?
Well, because you guys are so loud in my ears, and I can't change the volume somehow.
Really? Huh? All right.
Yeah, but if I select the, it seems like I can change the speaker and keep the microphone the same, but apparently not. So I'll revert to what I was doing and just pull my hat further over my ears so that
you can't just turn your volume down.
No, if I do that, nothing changes. It's weird. You know, I've got a new computer though, and like I can't just plug the headset directly into the computer. I have like one of those weird dongle things. So I've got this needlessly complex setup right now with so many wires, just to have this headset. So I'll just tough it out as long as you can hear me all right now.
All right, and we can work on it. Well, you sounded pretty good on just the computer mic, but it sounds a little bit better with this. So if you don't mind,
okay, yeah, if this sounds all right.
It sounds great, actually.
Cool. Good.
So where you been?
Well, actually a lot's changed just in the past few weeks. So, for those who listened to the original podcast appearance, at the time I was in Indianapolis, which is where I was born and raised. So I spent about 25 years in Indianapolis. You know, the layout that we'll talk about is in my family's home there. But just before Christmas, actually, at the end of 2023, a few weeks ago, I moved out to Missoula, Montana. So now I'm about 25, or what is it? What's the distance? I don't know. 1,000 miles plus away from home. So big changes recently.
Hey, weren't you in university for like oceanic something or other?
Yeah, so I was actually doing a master's degree in geology, specifically focusing on paleoclimate of all things. So researching past climate conditions.
And what kind of job did you get with that?
Well,
If you hang on, if you tell me you're working the front desk at the local Hampton Inn,
for a while it was looking like that might be the answer. But yeah, I had some wild job prospects until a few days ago. Believe it or not, I applied to the railroad. I was going to work for potentially BNSF. I had an offer to be a conductor, but I was actually offered a position just a couple days ago for it's basically an atmospheric modeler with the state of Montana. So I've accepted that job because that was sort of the goal all along, is to like actually get a degree and then apply the expertise you get from that degree to a job, which that's how it should work. But I was starting to think it might not.
Being a conductor on the BNSF would be a good fallback, though.
It would be, yeah. And they did say, even though I turned that job down, that if I were interested in employment in the future, that I can apply again. So
wow,
it's always good to have that option.
So what did you say? You're run that one by me again. What are you doing with the state of Montana? Yeah,
so the position is titled Air Quality Dispersion Modeler. So basically, I will be. I mean, I have a lot to figure out, and so I have questions myself. But effectively, I will be modeling, using software to model atmospheric conditions to better understand air quality. So this has to do with like wildfire smoke, as well as pollution, because out here in western Montana, there's a lot of mountain valleys, and so they're very confined. And so if you have like a wildfire or some other source of like particulate pollution, the air quality suffers greatly, especially if you have like a high pressure system, which is sort of suppressing like vertical dispersion, right? In Indiana, where I'm from, it's all flat. And so if you have a fire of some sort, it's pretty easy for that, that smoke and everything to escape. But in Montana, it's a valley, in the same way that like Los Angeles has air quality concerns. Missoula is a mountain valley as well, and so air quality can take a turn for the worse pretty quickly.
And what would the population of Missoula, Montana be?
It's about 80,000. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a pretty big place then.
Yeah.
So this is like a huge life change for you to move away from the family and your homestead and move to Missoula, Montana.
Yeah, it's a big shift. This is I'm like actually trying to be an adult now. Up until this point, yeah. No, it's gonna be cool to like, I don't know, have a real job and not be in school. I've never not been in school before, and also like worked a job. I've always been within striking distance of my home. Even when I was living in, I've had a few apartments at this point, or a couple before this one. I was still in the area, right? So right. I'm at my family home every weekend, usually working on the layout or something. And so it was a big change moving across the country at the young age of 25, pretending to be an adult for the first time.
So basically, up until now, you could always get mom to do your laundry if you got into a jam.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I've just been a man-child for like my whole life so far.
Have you gotten homesick yet?
Weirdly not. I don't know. I think it'll happen at some point, but there's just been so much going on, and like the apartment still isn't even put together. It's going on, I don't know, 4 weeks at this point, and I mean it looks all right, but there's still things that are a mess. So yeah, just a lot going on. I moved out here with my girlfriend. She actually is the one who got a job initially, which is why we moved out here. And so she just started working, and I've just been playing stay-at-home partner, which is pretty cool. I'm just sitting on the couch right now watching TV while she's at work. So it's a pretty cool gig until
I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got a week and a half more of freedom.
Or maybe you could turn the TV off and pay attention to us.
Yeah, I should try that.
Yeah, why don't you?
I'll try.
I know that's hard not to. Man, that'd be tough having to do that all day, wouldn't it, Lionel?
What? Turn the TV off and pay attention
No,
to us?
just sitting around, hanging out, enjoying life. I would love it.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
You would hate it. You would absolutely hate it. You can't sit still for 5 minutes until you go looking for something else to do.
Well,
you would hate it. And
I can't wait to ask now. What is he going to do about his layout?
Well, we're going to get to that, aren't we? We're going to get to that because he's got it recorded. It's a beautiful layout. But and the problem with you, Scooter, is that you promise people kits and structures, and it takes you 5-6 times longer to do it than you promised them. Like, have you got Brad Williamson's one done yet? No, and it was weeks ago that you said that it would be done in a week. No, right, it was months ago. It was months ago. Yeah, but then you can't be promising people that it'll be done when it's not even going to be close to being done.
You know what I'm doing right now, Lionel?
I'm sure you're
not this minute, but now I'm doing something for you. So.
Well, okay, that's great, but then don't be promising the people the world. That's how you get yourself.
I will. Okay.
That's how you get yourself into these jams.
Yep. I'm in a jam, that's for sure.
What does your girlfriend do that she ended up in Missoula?
Yes, we actually graduated from the exact same lab group. So I mentioned that I got a master's degree in geology, focusing on paleoclimate. She did the same thing. That's actually where we met, and so I graduated, technically back in October, and she finished up in December, and so it's a little challenging having the exact same very specific degree, trying to find 2 jobs in the same area. So she's kind of working in the realm of water science. So a lot of the work that we did with regards to the thesis research focused around, thinking about streams and lakes and watersheds. And so she's currently working for a organization called the Montana Conservation Corps, and so she's working specifically with the stormwater utility here in Missoula, working on like local stream restoration, things of that nature to improve water quality and just the environment in general. Yeah.
Wow, that's a big job.
Yeah. I think it'll be pretty cool. She's excited about it. It's kind of hard to take that leap from sort of the academic world to the I don't know. I guess I hate the term real world, but yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I think she's off to a good start.
But then you guys have to, for the involved career choices that the choices that you've made. It is a big leap, but it is hard to get out into the working world because it's a very definite path that you guys are going down. But sounds fascinating. Yeah,
I mean, exactly. I'm just excited to learn a bunch more. It like there's so much that I don't know about what I've gotten myself into. I just accepted a job, and like honestly, I don't know a lot of what it is that I'll be doing. So I'm excited to just learn about more things, what it is that I'm going to do, and yeah, I'm excited to have the opportunity to actually serve the state of Montana that I just moved to.
Right. Here's something I'm interested in, Bruce.
Hello.
Here's something I'm interested in, Bruce.
Yes.
I wonder if he'll have any access to Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
I'm assuming there's a plethora of hobby shops in Missoula, Montana.
I need to scope it out. I haven't. I did do a quick search the other day. I saw one. It was kind of like an all-purpose sort of hobby craft shop. It seemed like a really good setup. I mean, lots of good like paint options and things of that nature. But I didn't really see any actual like model train shops. But I probably didn't look hard enough.
Well, so long as UPS or USPS, the United States Postal Service, delivers to Missoula, Montana, you should be okay.
Oh yeah, I will be taking advantage of that.
There's that place, MidwestModelRR.com is a good place to order from.
Yeah, Midwest Model Railroad in Independence, Missouri. Or you might, because you're so close to the Canadian border, you might try ordering from Otter Valley Railroad in Tillsonburg, Ontario.
Yeah.
Two.
No, Midwest. I may have heard of them before.
Yeah.
I may have sent a few orders in.
There you go. Bruce,
Might have a.
Hello.
Kelly.
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
when you're thinking, try to do it quietly, okay?
Well, I just went on the internet there, and there's at least one.
Okay, but when you're thinking, try to do it quietly.
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to do gazintas or something like that.
No, I was
Not
looking at
out loud.
I did the old looking up on the Google and
Sure.
hobby
Well,
shops.
there's really
hobby
no.
shops in Missoula, Montana.
Well, there's really no reason to think out loud when you're using the
I
internet,
got
the
excited
Google.
because they said 10. There's not 10.
Hey,
Your
Scooter.
geography.
Hey, Scooter.
Yes, sir.
How you coming on Brad's station that was supposed to be done months ago?
Well, I just got the windows in like 3 days ago. Well, no, actually it was Monday. Over the weekend they came in and I discovered they were in the mailbox Monday. So I actually got a little start back on it the night before. Then I decided to paint a couple of hopper cars. So that's where I'm at now. I'm decaling hopper cars
Oh, cool.
tonight.
Ah,
Cool.
2 black hopper cars, aren't they?
Yep.
I thought they were going to be boxcar red.
Oh,
I thought they were black.
And they're boxcar red. That's my favorite color.
Well, these will be black. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Well, they'll by the time I'm finished weathering them up, they'll have plenty of boxcar red
yeah.
streaks on them.
I guess I should pay more attention, shouldn't I?
You should probably, or at least ask questions before you charge ahead.
Yeah, because that would be a much easier color to paint than a
There you go.
glossy black.
Yeah, somebody's giving you misinformation.
Well, I don't know if it's that or if I just didn't ask.
Okay. And where did you get the decals from?
From a guy. These are from. I can't remember.
Precision.
Oh yeah, Precision.
decals.
Yeah,
No, Precision Design.
yeah, Precision Design, and
Our friend William Brillinger.
What's
Right,
the name of his company? Anybody? Precision Design.
Precision Design Associates or Corporation.
I don't think so. We haven't talked to him
hey,
for a
how
while.
about if I tell you that right here?
Why don't
I
you
think
just get the package there
Yep,
and give us an.
they're printed in Canada. It's
Yeah, okay.
the website is www.pdc.ca. That's all I got.
Precision Design Company.
Precision Design
Yeah.
Company. How do you think this is going so far?
That's
Ken?
pretty wild. There's no name on these decals, but I know that's who it is. But that's pretty amazing. You'd think you would print your name on the decal sheet, but
How do you think it's going so far, Cam?
I'm having a good time. You'll have
Alright.
to tell me.
All right.
Seems like
Oh, boy.
yeah.
Here's part of the problem right now is I got something to tell you, and I'm not sure how to break it to you.
Oh, okay.
ooh,
Uh oh.
yeah.
Why do you guys assume?
Well, it's usually not good for Kelly or I.
Right.
So, Cam,
Right.
I've been looking at your YouTube channel extensively over the last few weeks, on and off. How you do when you're getting tired, you might sit down and look at stuff on YouTube, and what is so funny about that?
There's not.
It's so relatable is the thing.
Yeah,
I'll
exactly.
waste hours on YouTube. I'm not even watching model train stuff most of the time. I just let the algorithm rot my brain.
Exactly.
There you go.
There you
Yeah.
go. And anyways, I feel as though that there is absolutely no way in one podcast we can cover all the questions and discussion that we will have about your model railroad, which means you'll be forced to come on again.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, and then also a part of that is you're going to have to catch us up with our buddy John Caffarelli.
Yeah, I was just texting him actually. Yeah,
You're texting while you're on the show?
I am. Yeah, there's a lot of downtime. You guys are chatting it up, so I get to text whoever I want.
Oh, apparently,
So he's pulling a scooter and did multi.
Yeah.
yeah, apparently we're not that interesting.
No, I'm listening. I can
Man,
multitask.
he's a multitask. There you go.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just messing.
Yeah. And how is John doing these days?
I think good. I don't want to speak on his behalf, but
Right.
yeah, he's living out in Eugene, Oregon, next to the line that he models. So he's modeling the Union Pacific Cascade subdivision from like Oak Ridge, basically up to the summit of that hill, which is a helper district, and Eugene is not far from the helper base at Oak Ridge. So every day he wakes up and he's right next to that main line. So
yeah, I'm concerned that he thinks we don't care about him, which is far from the case. It's just that I stumbled onto your YouTube channel, and that's where so after we're done with you, we're going to work John over too. Now, when you say you don't want to speak for him, just one question though: do you have any idea what his credit card balance is?
I don't.
Okay.
Do you think it's pretty good?
I have no idea.
Okay.
He seemed like kind of a.
The more we know, the better it will be.
Yeah, the more we know. And when you're telling us, don't forget
he's got a kid now, so
does
maybe
he?
not too good. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he had a kid this past year. I know. Speaking of being a real adult.
Yeah, talk about being a real adult.
He's putting me to shame. We're the same age, and I don't know.
Yeah.
He's married, got a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I just moved out of my parents' house.
Yeah, but you moved a long way out of your parents' house. And it seems to me, just as when we were talking to you last time, he had just kind of was going back and forth between Eugene.
Yeah, I forget where he was at that point. I couldn't remember if he had already moved out there. Yeah, at this point, and maybe he was already. I lose track of time, but yeah, he's finishing up law school out there.
That's right. He was going to be a lawyer.
Oregon.
It seemed to me there was something somehow in Eugene. There was something to do with a young lady that was out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So his wife, they're living together in Eugene, and he had been spending some time up in Olympia, Washington. I forget what the timeline is there, and I'm going to embarrass myself later when I listen to this again and he corrects me on all the details. But the in-laws. What?
All right, I was just going to say, can you imagine that, John? Sorry, I interrupted you. But can you imagine that, John? He's texting with you right now as we're speaking, and yet he can't get any of the details right.
I don't even remember my own timeline, so it's hard to keep track of his. But no, he's been out in the Pacific Northwest for a few years now. Eugene solidly for a couple of years has a home there now. He had been sort of back and forth between Oregon and Washington for a little while before that. And obviously, his layout, like mine, is back in the Midwest, sort of outside the Chicago area for him. So we're now in the same boat, both living away from the layout that we've each spent years building.
Well, we might as well talk about that now, seeing as how we're at that point already, but then we'll circle back around to the layout and the videos. So you have a fantastic layout. Let's just make sure everybody understands that. If you want to see fantastic videos and a fantastic layout, go to Railfan 220 on YouTube. And these are fantastic videos, a fantastic layout, very instructional, as far as I'm concerned, it's an A++. And a time well spent to visit Cam's YouTube page.
Well, I appreciate it.
How do you say it?
Mariah's Pass.
It's a tough one. It's like Abelese. I stumbled with that. I struggled with that for months, and then all of a sudden one day that just went off. Mariah's Pass.
I was saying it wrong for years. Someone corrected me on YouTube about my own layout, which is a little embarrassing. It tells you how little research I did at the time. But yeah, it's named after the Marias River. Like the original pass was sort of like, I just looked this up as you guys were introing because I couldn't remember the details, but there was an expedition, to sort of scope out a pass over the Rockies. And initially it was thought that this pass followed the Marias River. The Marias River itself was surveyed by the Lewis and Clark expedition. And I think Lewis named it after his cousin. And I don't know why it's pronounced Marias, but I'd have to imagine that his cousin's name was Mariah or something of that nature.
Yeah,
so
right. And
that's where it comes from.
Yeah, he named it after his cousin, Steve Marias. Also known to his pals as Cheeky. It's not for, well, how bizarre is this though? Why did you start modeling the Marias Pass?
So it's, speaking of complicated timelines, the layout did not start as modeling Marias Pass. the layout itself broke ground back in late 2014. So like we're approaching 10 years at this point. And at the time I was trying to model Crawford Hill, which is a helper district, BNSF main line out in Northwest Nebraska. And for the longest time, that is what I was modeling, mainly on the upper level. And then a number of years now at this point, I took couple trips out to Montana, and on one of them spent some time along Marias Pass. And like, I just, after getting back home, I just couldn't get over the scenery. Like when I thought about the happiest moments in my life, that was one of them. Just like standing ankle deep in a, Moccasin Creek along Highway 2 and Marias Pass there on the south border of Glacier National Park. Just scenery is awesome. Railroading is awesome. And so I just had this itch ever after that to sort of capture that through modeling. And I pushed that away for the longest time because, it seems like a bad idea to just uproot all the progress that you've made on a layout and wipe the slate clean on all the scenery. But then I started to look into like some of the scenes and what I could do with them on the layout physically as I had already built it. And I decided that that was probably the route that I needed to go. So, I was kind of toying around with modeling bits and pieces of Marias Pass on the lower level of the layout, but I decided officially at the beginning of 2022 to sort of rethink all the scenes on the layout and model the whole layout. That's both levels of the layout as representing Marias Pass. So, so I made the change at that point and just kind of tore out the scenery, the Nebraska scenery that I'd already completed, and didn't really look back after that.
Do you know what the average eastbound grade is of Crawford Hill?
1.55, is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
In Crawford, Nebraska. And what's the elevation of Crawford, Nebraska?
Oof, I have no idea. Let's throw in a guess. Let's say 700, 800?
3,678 feet.
That was a bad guess. That's actually a lot higher than I thought.
Yeah, Crawford Hill is a helper district between Crawford, Nebraska, 3,678 feet, and Belmont, Nebraska, 4,499 feet on the BNSF Butte subdivision.
Yes.
Crawford Hill climbs the Pine Ridge Escarpment, and it's a manned helper district. Are used to help 18,000-ton loaded coal trains out of Wyoming's Powder River Basin up the escarpment. I'm not reading any of that. That's all information I just happen to have in my head.
It sounded like it.
Wow, you're a genius.
Yes,
you definitely wouldn't get drilled for plagiarism. That was all original. I could tell.
Exactly. Can I, Scooter? Can I ask you a serious question?
No.
All right. Can I ask you just a question?
You can.
If I was a genius, would I have you on my podcast?
Yes.
There you go.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Hey, Cam, what's going to happen to the layout?
We're getting to that. Don't skip ahead.
Well, you want me to ask questions? I'm asking a question.
Well, finally, 10 podcasts later, we got to work into that. You got to build the suspense. You got to talk.
I didn't get the script, so that's.
Well, yeah, you missed the meeting.
It's not a bad idea to just cut to the chase with me, though.
Well, we are
going to.
But I was working to cutting to the chase, but I wanted to know more about what was going on first. This is when you listen to this. It sounds very mumbo jumbled now, but when you listen to this, it'll be quite entertaining, and you'll be saying to yourself, "Gosh, I'm entertaining."
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I appreciate your the master narrative you have in your head. I'm concerned about how long I'll go on sharing too many details, and then you expect to have me on for another podcast, but it's going to have to be like 3 or 4 more because you'll never get the answers out of me. I'll just keep talking.
But you know how you'll find out if you're interesting or not?
Talking?
No, if you're on for 3 or 4 more.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, good point.
If you're only on for 1, you're interesting. Yeah. We've had lots of people on for 1, and they're very, very interesting. And you just sound like a very well-spoken young man and an interesting guy that's very, very interested in model routing. So we got to get to that. So, okay. So as a guy at 15, a young man at 15 who's loved model routing, I'm assuming pretty much since you could open your eyes. And now here you are. You've gone to school. What was the main school you went to?
It was Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, better known as IUPUI. It's the joint campus between IU and Purdue at Indianapolis. and they're actually splitting up. As of summer of 2024, it'll officially be IU Indianapolis. So my degree is Indiana University.
Indiana University. Go Red Hawks.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers, of course.
Yeah.
That's.
I also spent some time at Purdue. I spent my 1 year up at Lafayette at Purdue. So I've represented both the Boilermakers and Hoosiers.
Do the Hoosiers?
Actually, Jaguars.
I know Purdue has a pretty robust model railroad club.
Yeah, I visited.
And what about Indiana University? Do they have one?
I have no idea. The main campus for Indiana University down in Bloomington might have a club. Where I went in Indianapolis, I'm pretty sure it does not. I didn't look that hard, but there is a model railroad club in Indianapolis already. So I would imagine that people go there.
Sure.
It's the Naptown.
I have a question for your buddy John Caffarelli. John, are you as exhausted as I am already? Feel free to answer that on viewer mail. This is very good. Okay, so you're a model railroader at 15. Your mom and dad, your parents say, "Hey, sure, you want to build a layout in the house? Here's a spot you can build it." What's the size of your layout? The overall room size?
The room is 12 feet by 28 feet, like extreme dimensions. But if you look at a track plan of it, about half of the length of half of that 28-foot length is only about 10 feet wide. So it's not a super wide room, but obviously an incredible space to build a model railroad in, and I'm more than blessed to to be given that opportunity.
Yeah, and I had a really good question. Don't tell me what was it. I can't think. The squirrels are running around. The chipmunks are running around the cage. What was it? Can't remember. Oh well, we'll figure it out later on.
Yeah, we'll come to it.
We'll come back to it. Okay, so they give you this 12 by 28 room, and I know the question that Kelly's dying to ask you, so we might as well.
I got another question though.
Okay, see if it fits into the timeline.
Yeah,
go ahead.
shoot.
Well, I'm looking at your track plan.
Oh yeah, good.
That's right. That was my question. I remember what my question is now. What's the easiest way for somebody to see the track plan of your model railroad?
You can either look up Railfan 220 on Facebook, and you'll find my page there. It's the Marias Pass HO scale layout. The track plan is pinned to the top of the page. You can also watch my most recent videos, or they're the layout operations video series. In the description of each of those videos, I have a link to the track plan that you can click on.
Oh yeah, I see it now on the Facebook page. Who drew this track plan?
I did.
Wow, what did you use to draw it?
I used Empire Express Deluxe.
Empire Express Deluxe.
Yeah, it's a pretty good program. I think I use Mac, and so this program works well for Mac.
Are there? Geez, I was pulling a scooter there.
Wow.
Are there other types of computers other than Mac?
For other people, there are. Yeah.
Okay. Empire Express. So is that specifically for designing layouts?
Yes. Yeah. It's a track plan software.
Wow. Have anybody here heard of this?
Yes, I've heard of it.
Have you?
I haven't.
How about you?
Very interested in it.
How about you, Bruce?
I have not heard of said piece of software before.
This is a fantastic track plan.
Oh yeah,
it is.
Thank you.
You are a model at the age of 25. You are a model railroader extraordinaire,
without a doubt.
Too kind. Thank you.
But this is important because I think this is the future of the hobby. I think people, are always going on about the age of the hobby and blah, 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 blah. But I think there's a ton of people under the age of 40. There's going to be a tsunami and it's even a bigger tsunami of guys under the age of 30 that have basically been exposed to the internet their entire life. They know no other life, and they have all this access to model railroad information. And I think there's a ton of guys just like you out there that are making all kinds of fantastic layouts.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's always easy to think that the sky is falling, but I do think while social media does present a lot of evils. I think for model railroading, there are a lot of positives, namely just exposure to what people are doing. I mean, there's inspiration anywhere you look, and honestly, it's kind of numbing at times. I've kind of had to put the blinders on when I'm working on my layout, because if I look away too much, and it's like, oh man, I want to start that. I want to do a different project. So it's hard to stay focused a little bit with how much model railroading content you can consume, because every day you're convinced that you want to start something new. But I think that's good, right? There are people who haven't started on a layout or who haven't started modeling, and they're discovering this on YouTube or whatever platform.
Yeah, exactly. I think this hobby's going to explode, and we're all going to be covered in model railroad goo.
Yep.
Now I see on your track plan you have what I'm guessing are elevations, like it says at CP West exit, it's 1210.5, or is that the mile marker?
Those are mileposts actually.
Okay.
There are elevation is also on there, I believe. I gotta pull it up.
They're the little rectangles of the inches.
But I mean actual elevation in the real world.
No, yep, those would be mileposts, and those are scaled, so they are based on the real subdivision milepost. But if you check the locations, like east of Whitefish is at the bottom of my layout. That's the yard, and then the whole layout, you basically are climbing the grade east out of Whitefish towards the summit of Marias Pass. And if you look at the subdivision timetable and compare the mileposts to the locations I have named, they won't make any sense. But it's because I've sort of compressed, or I guess I've scaled the mileposts so that they're like less than a 1/87th scale mile, if that makes sense.
Sure. I remember go ahead.
I was going to say that way train lengths make sense. So Grant Eastman, who is the owner of the Southern Alberta Rail layout, he's been a huge inspiration to me. And he his layout's an N scale, and he has a scaling factor where basically 40% train length on the layout equals 100% in the real world. So in other words, a 40-car train on his layout would be 100 cars in real life. And so for my layout, I did even less than that because I'm in a bigger scale. So it's around like 25%. So a single milepost, like the difference between milepost 1217 and 1218 on my layout, is actually about a quarter of the distance of a real scale mile, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
it makes a little bit of sense. What was the name of the fella that you said was a big influence?
Grant Eastman.
Okay.
You should, if anyone has not seen the Southern Alberta Rail layout, I encourage you to check it out. That's personally my favorite layout out there. Just really, really great scenery, sort of like a big vista, big mainline railroading kind of layout, really wide sweeping curves. It captures the essence of big time railroading better than any I've seen before.
So would you put in a good word for us if we decide we'd like to interview him?
I would try,
You'd try? You'd try to put in a good word for us?
I could bug him, but
No, I don't mean bug him. I mean, you couldn't say something like, "Hey, I was on the Modeler's Life podcast, and these guys are fantastic. It's a great podcast, and I was really having fun on there." Yeah. You'd have to try to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we're buddies. I'd love to be, but I don't want to get too creepy and like stalk them. But I'll talk you guys up. Obviously, I'll drop in a word somehow. I just don't think I'm the best person to do it. There's probably other people who are more of an influence on him than I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll.
What's a good?
I've got to watch his most recent updates. I told him that, so when I comment and say great work, I'll also say, hey, I was on this podcast. Great podcast. You should check it out.
Right. Yeah. Try. See if you can try.
All right. I'll.
And for anybody listening who wants to know more about Grant's layout, the November 2021 issue of Railroad Model Craftsman has an article on it.
Yeah, just look it up on Google, and that magazine, the cover shot will pop up. It's pretty impressive. Just looking at that.
Southern Alberta Rail, is that?
Yep.
Okay, so he's got a YouTube page.
He does. He's got YouTube and Facebook.
What is the YouTube page there?
Southern Alberta Rail.
There you go.
He models Crow's Nest Pass, which is actually just a couple 100 miles north of Marias Pass. It's just like it's an alternate crossing of the Continental Divide, just a little bit north in Canada.
Oh, there's Kelly's thinking again.
No, I'm looking at his layout.
Well, I understand that, but can you look or think quietly?
Nah, I'm like Scooter.
Oh, no! Don't be going down that road. I don't think you're. Are you?
Yeah, don't look too hard. You won't think my layout's that cool.
Your layout's very cool.
It's cool. That for what
It is cool.
what you put it into that small room. Oh man, that's amazing.
So I remember what my main question was before I was so rudely interrupted by somebody.
Yeah.
So you start modeling Mariah's Pass.
Yeah.
Because you fall in love with it. What year was that?
I'd say I had musings before this, but my first real exposure was 2019. So that's when I really got hooked.
Okay. And then 5 years later, say 4.5 years later, you find yourself with a job with the state of Montana, and you're living with your girlfriend, and the two of you have gotten jobs with the state of Montana, and you're living in Missoula, Montana, which is just like down the road from Mariah's Pass.
Yeah, just a couple hours away.
It's like, did that?
Pretty spectacular.
What was that?
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah,
it is. That's why we're asking these questions.
It is. It feels serendipitous. It was not in the plans to do that. Right. We were applying to jobs all over the place. We were hoping to get to like Pacific Northwest generally, and we were thinking that Western Montana would be a cool place to move to. But I swear to you, I wasn't cherry picking jobs that were close to the railroad. It just worked out that we're living out here.
So yeah. So I mean, you end up. Like, when did that kind of dawn on you that you ended up getting a job? You guys ended up moving to Missoula, Montana, which is just down the road from Mariah's Pass. I mean, that must have kind of like made your head spin.
Yeah, it is pretty exciting. I haven't had the chance to make it up there yet, but it does feel so accessible. I definitely will be spending some time over the summer once some of the snow clears out, or hopefully before then. I'd love to see it with snow as well. But I'm excited to live on what is now formerly Montana Rail Link trackage. I think the week after I moved out here, I just took the day because at the time I was unemployed and drove over to Helena and then rail fanned over Mullen Pass, which is another helper district. It's 2.2% west out of Helena up to the Continental Divide. Super cool operation. They use 4-unit helper sets of SD70 units.
Slow down. Where's Helena? Oh, there
Helena's,
it is.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours east of Missoula.
So repeat again what it is they do there with the helpers. Just now say it slow.
Similar deal to Crawford Hill, like I was talking about earlier. You'll realize as I talk that the whole time that I've been building this layout, I've really only been interested in manned helper operations. And so Mullen Pass, which is just a little west of Helena, is another example of a manned helper district where they will place a set of manned helper locomotives in the middle of all loaded unit trains and sometimes on the end of mixed freights and intermodal trains as well. And they push them up the 2% grade to the Continental Divide at Mullen Pass. And they just do that all day. There's 3 helper sets all day, trains going west, just getting helped up the grade. Pretty cool operation.
So why do you think, when was it, what was it, how did you become interested in manned helper unit? I mean, I think that's one of the coolest things in railroading too, and one of the coolest things you can do in model railroading. But what was the spark that made you start to think about that? Yeah,
I've always been interested in mainline railroading. I appreciate all of it. And I know I'll get some flack for that because modern, big time railroading is kind of monotonous to some, but I think the mile plus long unit trains and big equipment is super cool. And I stumbled across John Parker's Fall River Division layout way back in probably like 2013, I want to say. And watching a video of his layout, I saw that he was using manned helpers on his layout. And I think before that point, like I had a vague ideation that manned helpers were a thing in the real world, but I didn't really spend much time thinking about it. But it was actually his layout and watching videos of him use manned helpers on his layout that made me start to sort of, do a bit more research and think about where are manned helpers used in the real world. And I was pleasantly surprised that there are, even in modern railroading, there are still a number of really cool examples where manned helpers are used. That's how I stumbled across Crawford Hill, and that's what set me off to building this layout in the first place. I told myself that that's what I wanted to model. I wanted to model a manned helper district. I love the idea that it's, just all day. It's trains coming out of the Powder River Basin, and every single one of them gets manned helpers to get up the grade. So that's how I kind of got my start. It was really a leap from seeing John Parker's layout to investigating real world examples and then choosing my own. And then, from that, I eventually evolved into becoming more interested in the helper operations out here in Western Montana on Marias Pass. And I made the switch just a few years ago.
The short answer is you were influenced heavily by John Parker's BNSF layout.
Correct, yeah, which I'm sure most people have heard of, but if you haven't, look up Fall River Division layout.
Yeah, I don't think most people have heard of it because what I think one of the problems nowadays is it seems to me there's a plethora. There was a word you used, serendipitous. Was that the word you used earlier?
Yes, I did.
One thing I should tell you going forward, and this is meant as no criticism towards you, but we try to stick to two syllable words here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Yeah.
I'll try to tone it down. That's a word my grandpa uses, I don't think I ever would have used that, but he whips it out every once in a while and I'm like, oh yeah, that made sense.
Yeah. And if I knew what it meant, I'd probably use it once in a while too.
Yeah. Well,
what does it mean?
Oh, I wish I could define it. I don't know. You're sitting at a computer. You can look it up.
So you're just throwing out big words that you don't even know what they mean. It just makes you sound smart.
Correct.
It's kind of like being in the right place at the right time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. It's a word that sounds good though. Serendipitous.
It's a coming together of things that, in hindsight, seems like too good to be true. That's how I use it, at least. But I also, to your point, I definitely use a vocabulary. Most of the time, I couldn't define what I'm saying, but I do.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it's a superiority complex, perhaps. I don't know.
I wonder what the opposite of that word is. Coming together of things that really aren't that great of an idea. I guess that'd be modeler's life, wouldn't it?
That's just not. That's wrong.
You did that to yourself.
Yeah, you could see that coming down. Well, I only have a vocabulary of about 27 words. So.
It's efficient because then you got all that brain space for modeling.
Yeah, there you go.
Serendipity is the phenomenon of finding valuable or agreeable things not sought for. So kind of like you're
just happens
out there, just kind of, oh, look what I've found type thing.
So it would be serendipitous that Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
Found us it became the sponsor of this podcast.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that works.
Who's drinking? Who's drinking with ice?
Sorry, that's me.
There's no alcohol in that, is there?
No.
Because
I just had a glass of water with some ice cubes in them.
Okay.
Now that's
pretty obvious.
Because I was thinking the other day when you were yelling at Queso Cowboy about the data on the side of freight cars, that there might have been something other than just water in your glass. Possibly.
Think back to that date.
You can't even remember. It's too fuzzy.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so
I'm not sure if I had a beer on the go that night or not.
Okay, so now the question. Like we've killed an hour already. This is easily 2 or 3 parts, and then we got to deal with John and what his whole life is, and then I think years ago we planned on having you guys do the Kelly questions together. So we might have. We could be doing it. We could be working on this till like the end of June.
It's a big project now.
Yeah. I think eventually you and your girlfriend should take a drive across Highway 12 to Kuskiki or whatever that's called. Highway 12 all the way across to Lewiston. Man, that road looks like it's a long trip. Holy mackerel! That is just like 1,000 bends on that road.
Yeah, you need to carry extra gas cans when you go on that one.
I don't think it's that long, but is it? I don't think there's more than 500 feet of straight road on there.
Oh man, yeah, I'm seeing that now too.
Yeah,
crazy.
From Lolo,
Yeah,
and over to Lewiston.
Yeah, that's some cool country out there. That range just west of Lolo is pretty cool.
What's the capital of Montana?
Helena.
Okay, and so, but in Missoula, they must have some sort of big government complex or something, which is how you guys ended up there.
Yeah, Missoula is the second biggest town in Montana. Helena is, I forget where it is. It's like fourth or fifth, maybe third. I don't know. I don't forget the ranking. But so Billings is the biggest town at like 200,000. Missoula is second after that. So there's just like a lot of opportunity in Missoula relative to other areas. So yeah, I think that's really how we wound up here.
In Florida, my house in Florida is in Volusia County, and which isn't that far from DeLand. And DeLand is the county seat.
Oh, okay.
I just always say that because whenever I watch Petticoat Junction or the Hillbillies, they talk about Pixley was the county seat or something. And that was like, I was always like, DeLand is the county seat. I say that mostly to my Canadian friends because it seems like a big deal south of the border where the county seat is. There's 3 minutes of the podcast we can eradicate. Okay, so before we get into the details of the layout, we should probably eliminate this whole thing of, now what do? You've built this fantastic layout. Fantastically. Has your layout been featured in Railroad Model Craftsman?
It has not, no.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. We need to get Otto Vondrak, if you're listening to this, or if anybody is in contact with Otto Vondrak, your layout, you should do an article for Railroad Model Craftsman.
I don't know what the ethics are of this, but I don't want to give anything away, but I will say that I have been in touch with him. So,
well, I think you can talk about think you can mention who you talk about via the internet or on the phone.
Yeah. I'll just say that I think something might be in the works with regards to that. Good. So.
Well, let's pretend that I was the one that put that deal together.
Brokered that deal.
Yeah. Wow. Just in a few seconds.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to happen is when I was at Springfield there a few months ago, I talked
you were chatting to him about that.
I was talking to Otto about Cam Nealy and his Marias Pass Railroad.
Yeah, because you told him just to scratch Scott's and put his in that place. I said, okay, that's good.
No, I said to him, he said, when do you think I can get Scott's layout in the magazine? And I said, well, the problem there is Scott can't say no to anybody. And he's got this list of structures and cars and locomotives to build before he could ever get around to writing your article.
Right. So,
yeah. And then you know what I did? I went back to the booth, tripped over the legs of Bruce's director chair because he's got this director's chair where the legs came forward and nobody could get by it.
I remember.
Yeah.
Well, that was a nice chair.
It was a great chair if the legs had just gone straight down, except they come forward and nobody could get by the damn chair.
Tall, it had to have the girth to keep it, upright.
Well, I don't think Bruce is that big of a man.
No, that's not what I'm saying. The chair.
It sounds like
it needs a large base for stability. Is what he's trying.
That's exactly right. It needed a bigger base.
So now you're insulting the guy that's going to be the North American Director at Large for the NMRA. You're insulting his physical attributes.
Well, I am at large.
Yeah, that's true.
It says right on the title, at large.
Yeah, at large. So
what is the weight? What is the weight? Like, is it like you got to be 5'10" and so many pounds?
I think it's like the heavyweight division in boxing.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to a good way to describe the NMRA. It's like a carnival ride.
Well,
actually,
right.
That's a good way to describe this podcast. It's like a carnival ride. Actually, you know what I've decided, and I put this on a sign for Springfield. It was on a sign at Springfield. We are the home of authentic model railroad gibberish.
Wow.
There you go.
That is it.
That's it.
I love it.
We're not serious like other podcasts. We can't do. We are serious. We've had a great serious discussion with Cam, but we also like to have fun at the same time, unlike other podcasts.
Yeah, we like having fun.
Yeah. All right. So now
we're like sitting down with our interviewees in a bar, having a few drinks,
Yeah,
having a chat,
exactly.
rather than formally face to face in the interview room.
exactly.
Yeah, my God, this guy just got through earning his master's. Does he want to be serious anymore?
Very,
No,
that's
I'm done
true.
with that.
There you
Yeah,
go.
it's time to have fun. That's all behind him now.
So by now, lots.
And that would probably be the most fun part of his life he's had, is doing his master's at the university. I know when that was the best time I had. And then I got a job, and there you go.
It's downhill.
yeah.
I know. I lost all my freedom. I used to be able to just work whenever I wanted and disappoint people, and now I get fired if I do that. So
There you go.
So then you need to take the next step that both Scott and I took early on in our adult life when we realized we didn't take orders that well.
Yeah, own it.
Yeah, just start your own business and get people that have to answer to you. There you go.
yeah, there you go.
That's
Yeah.
all.
If it rains anymore, that creek will rise. How much was that?
That's right. That solves your problem immediately. And then before you know it, you're closing in on the age of 70 and your secretary's been with you for 35 years. And
Yeah,
it's like being
trying to figure out why they only have first class 3 ways on your leg and not the way home.
Yeah. And then it's like being married twice.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's get to this whole problem now. You've got this fantastic layout that I believe should be featured in a magazine, either the original. Well, it's not the original; it's the second one, actually, if history is correct. But either featured in one of the 2 major magazines of the hobby.
Well, thank you.
Now what happens? Like, what has been your early thoughts about? Holy mackerel! I've got this great job. I'm in Missoula, Montana, and my layout is not here.
Yeah, that is a swell question, and one that I've pondered a lot. It is weird. I definitely have some I don't know, like separation anxiety or something, because I find myself, especially now, because I still have yet to start my job, like, what am I doing with myself? What do I do during the day? Because if I were in town, I'd be making trees or weathering things or, continuing on the scenery. There's so much that still needs to be done. And it's kind of tough to do that at the moment. But I've thrown around ideas in my head of starting a new project. However, I think, and obviously my conviction is limited and I'm pretty wishy-washy and I change my mind day to day. But for the time being, I do think I want to stay committed to the layout. Obviously, it's at my family's home, so they know that it's at their mercy. Like, for example, if they wanted to move or something, then the layout's staying there. It's not portable, and I'm not holding anyone hostage, right? Like, if the layout needs to go, that's fine. But as long as someone in my family is occupying that house and the layout is still up, I intend to work on bench projects here, and then whenever I visit home, take things back with me or ship them periodically. So I was just getting organized today, actually, and yesterday as well, making sort of a 2024 plan for what I want to tackle remotely, so that when I get back to the layout, I can have some measurable progress to show. And honestly, if I weren't so far along with the layout, I think I'd feel a lot better about starting on a new project. But the combination of the fact that I'm in an apartment where I don't really have a space for a layout of scale, as well as the fact that I spent a lot of effort and planning and time to get the layout to where it is now, makes me still excited about continuing to work on the layout even from afar. So I do want to stay committed to it. I didn't foresee that. I thought I'd be like, oh, okay, now I can dust my hands. I feel good about what I completed. On to the next thing. But I'm in a place right now where I'm actually very, very much still excited about trying to push forward and complete more scenery and get my equipment weathered as well.
As far as scenery, how complete is the layout as far as the overall?
And I wouldn't say vary. The upper level is most complete. I've got a stretch from like halfway down the lower level, and then the whole upper level, which has your basic scenery layers. So I've got dirt, grass, ballast, and like the track is weathered. And then for, I'd say, like maybe 30 or 40% of that stretch has trees. And then I'd say 10% of that, or maybe even less, is like has detailed scenery and trackside details and things like that. So there's still a good, 60% of the layout that needs a bunch of trees. And then probably like half or more of the lower level itself that needs basic scenery layers. So there's a lot to do. I've decided to focus on the stretch of the mainline grade sort of upgrade from my yard and industries. I focused on that scenically first. So I think I want to kind of see that out first, which means making probably 500 to 1,000 more trees, which will take some time. But I'd feel really good if I could do at least that, and then have the section of scenery that I have started. If I could have that filled out with trees, I think the layout would look dramatically different and really play the part of northwestern Montana.
Now, does anybody in your family interested in operating it when you're not there?
No, not really. So my dad has really helped along the way. He's been a huge encouragement and is really excited about the hobby. He's never really gotten into the running of trains or operations side of it, so it's not getting used while it's away. But that's another aspect that I'm itching to get back to, because until recently I hadn't really figured out an operating scheme that made me happy. And just like the sad irony is that right about the time where I think I've sort of put the final pieces in place and I'm excited about it, I don't even have the opportunity to have an operating session to test out those changes. So I'm really itching to get back at some point and have, everyone's calendars line up so I can get a group of, 5 or 6 people out there to run it again.
Does your software program allow you to simulate trains on it?
No, not the program I was talking about, but okay. I've messed around with JMRI a bit before for switch lists and things. Recently, I've just been sort of using spreadsheets and kind of like manually making my manifest and switch list, because I feel like it gives me a bit more control for what I'm trying to do. But I've been given the operations a good think over here recently.
So I don't want to speak for your parents because I don't think it's my place. But you said there a little bit ago you don't want them to be held hostage by your layout.
Yeah.
I can, like I say, I don't want to speak for your mom and dad, but I'm pretty sure that if they decide to move, they won't really care what you think.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think you'll ever be holding them hostage.
No, I don't think so either. But they're a little too nice. I feel like they might be like, well, what happens with the layout if we move? And I continue to tell them, even though they don't ask me to say this, but I'm like, if that ever came up where you're like pondering, it's like, maybe we should move to Arizona or something, then obviously do that.
Yeah.
Because they asked me, they're like, what are we doing with the layout? I'm like, I don't know. It's staying there until something changes. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he didn't build it with any thoughts of in any kind of a modular sense or anything like that.
No, because back in 2014, when I was like a sophomore in high school, I was like, I'll have this done by the end of high school, which is ridiculous in hindsight. Everything, and you were poking fun at the beginning of the podcast about how long,
Scott makes promises to people and he can't fulfill.
Was that it? Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's me.
Yeah.
I make promises to myself and don't fulfill them. And I've learned that I've made plans before. I got very organized at the beginning of 2022. I have this long checklist with like benchmarks, dates on there about like, what do I want to have done by May, June, July, August, through the end of the year. I was thinking that this whole transformation from previously modeling Crawford Hill, ripping that all out, making track changes and redoing the scenery, I convinced myself that can be done in a year, which is absurd. And in hindsight, I'm realizing that however long I think something is going to take, I think I need to give myself like 10 times the amount of time to realistically meet that goal. But it's still cool to set ambitious goals because it does push you forward.
Well, sure. Has your layout ever been on any kind of like a convention that comes by and there's on a layout tour or something?
No, honestly, I'm one of the worst model railroaders out there because like I share to YouTube and Facebook, but I'm so unplugged from everything. I don't do a great job of like reaching out to people and maintaining a local group of operators or anything like that. And I have been reached out to before. When people realize that the layout's in Indianapolis, they'll say like, "Oh, you should have told me because we could have gotten you on the tour circuit or whatever." And that does appeal to me. I just I don't know. It's going to take someone to ask me explicitly, like, "Hey, this is happening in June. Would you be willing?"
That's part of the interesting discussion that we're going to have over the years as we continually come back and forth to you. Is that you're the next generation of model railroader. You do it a different way because you were introduced to the hobby in a different way. Like I said, anybody from the age of 30 or less has only ever known life with the internet and the access that you have to other model railroaders through the internet has never been experienced by people of my age, which by the way, I'm just, I'm barely
35.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous. I'm 50. I'm 52.
Right.
What are you laughing at?
Because you are.
So I think it's a really interesting discussion because I'm going to wager that you don't belong to the NMRA.
That's correct.
Right.
Don't tell anyone.
And I would also guess that John doesn't belong to the NMRA.
I don't think so, but I'm not sure.
Because you probably, and this is just part of our discussion. This isn't meant as a criticism or anything. This is part of what I'm trying to convey to folks who may be higher up in the NMRA. You don't really care about the NMRA. You care that it's there, but it's not anything you would take time out of your day to join or become involved in because you have all of your time spent making your 300 plus videos for YouTube. You have plenty of interaction with other human beings. You have 17,000 subscribers to your channel. I would imagine that when you're making a YouTube video, you take it pretty seriously and you try very hard to produce a very quality product for people to view.
Yeah, most of the time I do. Yeah, I try to put in a bit of effort. Sometimes I'll phone one in. I'll just clobber together some clips that I've amassed over the last couple of months and just call it a day. But sometimes that's what people enjoy. So no, but it's an interesting point because I'll agree to a degree. I'll also say I'm probably not the best, the best test subject to sort of feel out where the hobby's at with a certain generation, just because you're right. Most of my content sharing is through YouTube, and there's a lot of time spent, I do a lot of modeling, right? A lot of hours spent actually working on the layout. And then the rest of my time is spent trying my best to make as much content as possible. Those two go hand in hand. Like if I'm not making progress on the layout, I can't really make videos or they get super redundant and it feels like I'm talking about nothing. So that's a hard thing to balance to begin with. And then at that point, I feel like I'm kind of maxed out with my time. But on top of that, I'm a pretty introverted guy. I've never really been eager to meet a bunch of people. And that sounds horrible, but I feel like I might come off nice, but in my head, when I think of, and I threw might in there because sometimes I think I don't come off as nice, especially just in passing on the street. I think I have a frown on my face, but I'm really not upset. I look angry, but when I think of getting together with a group, even for operating on my layout, I almost shudder because I'm like, there's going to be people I haven't met yet or something like that. And I think it sounds not fun. There are a lot of people out there, however, that the suggestion of doing something of that nature, whether it's hosting an operating session for the first time with a bunch of new people or going to a convention or doing a layout tour circuit, that there's no negative thoughts. They're just purely excited about that. So I think if I were further along the spectrum, on that end of things, then I would, put more energy into being a member of the NMRA or getting out there and trying to host sessions or get on a tour circuit or something like that. But I also have to throw out that the dynamic is weird as well, being that like the layout, it's not in my home, right? It's in the house that I grew up in, but it's not my space alone. So it does feel like a little weird, right? There is a vague degree of not embarrassment, but like I'm not trying to broadcast to people that I have this layout and I want a bunch of you to come over to my parents' house, right? That's kind of weird, I think, at least. So I'll just say this, that YouTube has allowed me, and other platforms, right? Facebook as well. You mentioned that during this podcast, that the last time I was on here, I was with John Caffarelli, my good friend, and he reached out to me through Facebook, and that's how I met him, and that's been a long-standing friendship, and we have a lot of fun in the hobby. But then anytime I've had any sort of operations on my layout, which honestly has not been that many times, but it's been sort of a similar situation where like someone will reach out to me and say, hey, great layout, I'd love to operate on it. Are you hosting an operating session? And a lot of the time, the answer is no, I'm not. Like I haven't been planning one in my head. I'm not itching to do that right now. But, if you catch me at the right time, it might be like, yeah, actually, the layout's at a point where I do want to get some operating sessions in. I've been thinking about the operating scheme, and it's been those few times where I've responded and said, yeah, like let's make it happen. And then, 4 or 5 people show up to my house who I've never met before. And then it's like, okay, let's operate the layout. And then that's my operating crew. But I don't really have anyone locally. Like all those people drive anywhere between 3 and one guy came from 8 hours away to operate on the layout.
But how did that guy from 8 hours away find you? How did he discover you?
It takes someone else with superior social skills and the desire to, I don't know, get a group of friends together and take a short. You
probably, but whoever it is that brings these people, they've discovered you through social media.
They have, right? So
exactly.
It's all Facebook, YouTube, Instagram,
which goes full circle back to my original point of the NMRA is going to struggle in the future unless they get a grip on the fact that Cam Nealy, through no fault of his own, has really no interest in the NMRA because he's made most of his connections for his railroad through social media. Now, you say you're an introvert. I would argue with you that primarily the majority of model railroaders, a high majority of model railroaders, start out as introverts because they're looking for a hobby to do that doesn't necessarily involve others, that they can do at home. They can build models and on like that, because we have probably hundreds of people now that are in the AML Nation that will have said the same thing to me, whereas, I didn't really know anybody till I found the AML Nation. Now I've got all these friends and blah, blah, blah. Our very own Scooter here, the table master, has said that to me numerous times until he discovered the podcast. And now he has so many friends and so many people stopping by. And it's all through social media.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, when I first talked to John Caffarelli, you said you kind of have a scowl on your face. Years ago, when I first talked to John Caffarelli, I listened to what he had to say, but I don't think you're a butthead.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. That's good.
That's good.
Well, thank you.
But that's my point. I mean, this is the exciting thing that I am discovering with you and John and others, that they're finding the hobby. They've already discovered the hobby one way or another, and primarily, I don't know what it is. My theory that I'm beginning to think is a very solid. It's not fact-based. I don't have any way to back it up, but I'm beginning to believe this is a solid possibility of this is how model railroaders become model railroaders. When they're born, there's a fairy that comes along and sprinkles magic model railroad dust on them, and then they become lifelong model railroaders.
Yes.
I have no solid facts to back that up, but I think it's a pretty I'm pretty sure that's there's no way that can be disputed because model railroaders are individuals onto their own. A lot of them are pretty darned intelligent. They have interesting careers and on like that. Man, we had a long discussion there. And I'm not sure where we ended up other than we were trying to I'm just fascinated. I don't want to lose connection with guys like you because I think it's the future of the hobby and I think it's fascinating. I think there are way more layouts online now. Fantastic layouts online. Like we've been talking for an hour and a half now, and we haven't gotten to any of the particulars of your model railroad other than what it is, and we haven't talked about any of the videos other than, what's out there. So, I mean, and we have so much more ground to cover.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. There's hours and hours to talk about it. And as soon as you send me a check for $267, this will be broadcast on the air.
Oh, is that the deal?
Yeah.
Joke's on you. I have no income right now. So.
Was this? That's right. You don't start for another week and a half.
Yeah. So I got it.
We have credit.
Yeah,
3+ weeks.
We have favorable credit terms. You can set.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What's your job again?
Air Quality Dispersion Modeler is the official title.
Air Quality Dispersion Modeler. So, because your job doesn't start for another week and a half, does air quality dispersion modeling not need to be done in January in Missouri or something, or Montana? Like, how does it all of a sudden go? Okay, now today we need a guy to do our air dispersion quality, whatever you called it.
I don't know. It's hard for me to read. I think they've had this position filled before, but I don't know. It might have been some time. So like I don't know what they've been doing in the meantime because clearly they've been looking for someone to fill the position. And I just accepted the job 2 days ago, and they asked me when I wanted to start, and I don't know. I was trying to gauge when the earliest would be because I would like to make some money. So it wound up being. But you'd also like to sit around. January.
But you'd also like to sit around for another week and a half.
That too. I had tentatively accepted a job that I've since had to turn down, and that wasn't going to start till the end of February. Which, in terms of money, isn't the best. But I was convinced that we were going to be fine and make it work. And I am mourning the loss of my nearly 6 weeks of freedom that I gave up.
So you were convinced that not having any money and relying on your girlfriend for income was going to work. Did you discuss it with her at all?
I did. Well, she did that to me for a couple months. So
yeah, but
I was just repaying the favor.
But she's the girl. She can. See, that's the difference, and the girls
I'm
can.
More
the
than
girls
happy
can
to let her be the breadwinner.
Yeah, well, don't.
I'm very happy to just sit around here and.
I got a little life tip for you. I'm actually a bit older than 52. I got a little life tip for you. Don't let her listen to this podcast.
Okay, yeah, I won't.
That's a bad road to go down to, saying that you're happy to have her as the breadwinner. That's not going to work, buddy. Trust me. It may not be.
Listen to this.
It may not be a problem tomorrow. It may not be a problem 5 years from now, but someday, decades from now, 15 years from now, 17 years from now, all of a sudden, one day, out of the clear blue sky at like 3 in the afternoon on a Saturday, it's going to blow up in your face.
Yeah. I think that's true.
Exactly.
I think she'd be okay with that arrangement until I started to get a little greedy, and it wasn't.
Trust me.
Left the dishes for a little too long.
There you go. Now you're getting it.
Yeah.
Do you buy her flowers at Valentine's?
I have not done that, but that's a good idea. I should probably do that. They got to be cheap ones from like the grocery store, though.
Are you? Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have are you crazy? Do you have like a death wish or something? When
sometimes.
Valentine's comes around, just go out. She will tell you she doesn't want flowers. Ignore her.
Yeah, I believe her. I believe everything she says. She's like, let's not get each other gifts.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Don't go down that road.
Yeah.
That too will go blow up in your face.
It'll blow up real good.
Yeah, it blowed up really good.
Well, we're stuck here now.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
together.
it's
Good luck leaving.
but you can still buy flowers for Valentine's. Let me go around the room. Scott, do you buy your wife flowers for Valentine's or something?
Single year.
Every single year. How about you, Kelly?
I don't buy her flowers, but I take her out to a fancy dinner.
There you go. You
Yeah,
do
to be
something.
clear,
You recognize the day.
something.
You recognize the day.
Yes, you definitely do.
Yeah. How
Yeah,
about
this
you?
narrative's
How about
gotten away
you?
from
How
me.
about you, Bruce?
Yes and yes.
There you go.
Flowers and dinner.
There you go. To give my wife a really pleasant day, I just leave. That's my gift. An hour and 30 minutes. What a great podcast this was. I enjoyed this one.
It's only the first part.
And it's only part one of however many parts we do. Can you come on again, Cam?
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to get more into it. I feel like there's a lot more to share and talk about.
Okay. And you can think about what it is you'd like to talk about, because now we probably won't get together for a little while because we have stuff to do over the next few weeks. But after that, I will contact you and we will record part 2 of the Cam Nealy saga.
That would be great.
All right. And don't worry, John Caffarelli, we're going to get around to you too, buddy. You're out there. I haven't forgotten about you. Where's his? Does he have a layout, or what happened to his layout?
Yeah, so same situation. His is still at his family's home, and he had worked on a few bench projects away from the layout, and has been back a couple times. And I think he's still interested in doing that, but he's definitely in the planning stages of version 2 of that layout. So he's
Cool.
I don't know. He's a bit further along in the adult life scheme, and
Sure.
is thinking about spaces for a layout, and he's working on track plans and all that. So I think he's still committed to what he's modeling, but I think his mind is on the next version of the layout.
Right. Okay. Cool. I think this went very well. Oh, and do you think John Caffarelli has Rapido trains?
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
That's a great question. I'm going to say yes. Who doesn't, right? There we go.
Okay, that's a
Who in
great.
their right mind?
Yeah. Who in their right mind doesn't have Rapido trains?
You're fast track to.
Did he leave or something?
No.
I don't know.
Bruce.
No, I'm here.
You missed it.
I was hearing it, but I just did it, so I wasn't sure why we were doing it
Didn't hear
again so soon.
We didn't hear you.
No, he said he just did it.
Well, you didn't know why we're doing it again so soon, because
Yeah.
Jason Schron very enjoys paying his monthly bill for his sponsorship.
Okay.
Exactly.
But I jumped in there.
Yeah, but that was not very good.
It wasn't good. It wasn't
No.
good. But I'm not the
That's right.
leading quarterback.
Yeah, so that's why the whole play was missed, and we've been knocked out of the playoffs.
Oh no.
Rapido trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
Rapido trains, your fast track to model railroading fun.
You're not sure why we're doing it again so soon? Because he's paying us to.
And we got big bucks invested in those jingles too. So
we got huge dollars invested in those jingles. I was talking to our buddy David Hyde last night, aka Mr. Jingles. Bruce, Kelly, can you give out our email address?
Yes, I can give out our email address. Our email address is modellerslife@gmail.com. That's one L in modelers like Nealy, not two L's like Caffarelli.
Nice. One L like Nealy, not two L's like Caffarelli. Sweet.
Good. Wow.
That one off the crack. You know, when you heard that one come off the bat,
It's another Lincoln Homer.
that one was gone. Sweet. What'd you think? How'd you think this went, Scooter?
Lovely.
Did I wake you up?
Call me off. Yeah, you did. Oh, this was a great podcast.
It was a great podcast. Cam, you did a great job, buddy.
Yeah.
And I knew you would. See, that's what I love searching out the young guys, the John McGuires and the Cam Nealys and all the young guys in the hobby, because it's a new world. This hobby is going to explode, and we're all going to be covered in model railroad goo.
That's really what it is. It's like a new world, isn't it?
It is.
Lionel, that episode was 165 with John and Cam, and it was March 15th. 2021.
Oh, okay, so it was like 3 years ago. It just seemed like
Less than.
it just seemed like
Jeez.
it just seemed like 5 years ago. I guess that podcast was so hard it just wore me out. It seemed like 5 years ago.
Yeah. You had to take a break. You had to take a 3-year break before you could have either of us back on.
Exactly. Okay. So if you missed the email address, if you go to our website, amodellerslife.com, and you scroll down just a little bit and click on the picture of the moderately agitated mailboy in a particularly agitated state, the email, and click on that photo, the email address will be filled in for you. Then all you can do is put on your title of your text and the body of your text, and boom, hit send, and your email goes off, and away you go. I have Cam, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Have you ever wanted a T-shirt with a hot dog on it?
Every day.
Okay. Well, if you go, and I'm assuming you buy a lot of your supplies at Midwest Model Railroad.
I do, and I'm not lying, actually.
Okay. Why? On some of the podcasts, were you lying?
Yeah, sometimes I embellish the truth. Yeah.
Well, if you go to Midwest Model Railroad, and their URL is midwestmodelrr.com, and scroll across the navigation bar to Other, and click on the drop-down menu, and then you'll see the AML shop. And there's also a farther down, if you scroll down, there's me sitting behind the desk beside a couch. You can click on that too. But anyways, if you go in there, you're in a wonderland of AML merchandise. Hats, hoodies, mugs, T-shirts. And in there, you'll find a T-shirt with a hot dog on it.
Oh, wow. This is a comprehensive store.
It is very comprehensive. They're about just under 20,000 square feet, and about 17,000 square feet is dedicated to AML Nation.
Yeah, they would need it with all these different clothing offerings and mugs.
Exactly.
Wow.
And you know what's right beside that?
What's that?
Rapido Trains.
Your fast track to model railroading fun.
If it's N, if it's H-O, the fast track is Rapido.
They're everywhere.
Crazy. Absolutely.
It must have a store in every state.
A store in every state. There you go. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And if you like this particular podcast, and it's on the free channel, it was on a Monday. Today's a Monday. I don't know what Monday it is, but it's a Monday. If you enjoyed this particular podcast, if you click on our Patreon link for just a few cents a day, you can have twice as much podcasting a week. And I prefer to feel like the Patreon link, the Patreon podcast every Tuesday are kind of like sitting on back porch with Andy and Barney and Opie from the Andy Griffith Show. And, we're whittling away, and we're a little more down home, a little more friendly, but it's a cornucopia of different stuff on the Tuesday channel. And the bonus to that is there's 2 levels to that. If you join the second level, the $10 level, you're entered into the when will I get my T-shirt level, because if you're in the $10 level, every year you get a T-shirt that's only available to people who are on the Patreon, belong to Patreon. But it's kind of a mystery as to when you get your T-shirt, because I'm not particularly organized. So that's part of the problem there. Anybody?
And the Wednesday night chat.
And every Wednesday night, the Patreon members get together and have a little chit-chat and get together, and many of them, and then there's all sorts of folks on there. It's always very busy, and it's a great time.
There's about 15 on earlier this afternoon.
I guess today is, if today was Wednesday, they'd be on.
The recording day, yes.
Yeah. I think that's it. Have we not covered it all? Oh, and if there's another Patreon link for Uncle Dave's Playhouse, Uncle Dave Abelise, he has a video channel on Patreon, which is actually pretty good. There's a lot of interesting videos on there. And and then we have our buddy here, Cam, with his fantastic YouTube channel.
Yeah, jeez.
Fantastic YouTube channel. Is that it? Are we done?
Yeah.
Okay, Cam, at the appropriate moment, we need you to say happy rails to you.
Okay.
Now, the key to this is there's no dancing, there's no singing, there's no interpretation. what we need you to do is say with enthusiasm, "Happy Rails to you."
Oh, I remember this from last time. I think I didn't do too well.
Yeah, there you go. So you've had 3 or 4 years to think about it. So now you can really
make us proud, son.
Yeah.
I'm already overthinking it. I don't know how to emphasize that.
Well, we're going to find out.
All right.
Well, Cam, as we close the barn, as the sun sets over the back 40 and we close the barn doors, I guess there's nothing else left to do except for you to say,
"Happy Rails to you."
While in Busted Knuckle, guests of a Modeler's Life podcast stay at the Casa del Sol Motor Court and Inn, where late-night dancing at the Rumba Room is a magical event to be experienced.
It's another Lincoln Homer.
well, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
A solid effort.
Yeah, it had a little bit of a ring sing to it, but it was good.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Okay. Well, maybe that's just the way he talks.
That's true.
I don't want to criticize him. He's a young man starting out in the world.
Yeah.
You're going to give him what do you call it?
Well, when he gets he'll
complex.
do it. He'll
complex. Hey, you're going to give him a complex.
Not everybody wants to be a grumpy old man like you, Kelly.
Yeah.